Of student protests continue outside of Crouse-Hinds Hall.
Students are getting a head start in their financial lives.
Syracuse is my second home now.
And a familiar face addresses the media and Syracuse crowd for the first time since her diagnosis.
That and more coming up on Mornings on the Hill. Good morning, I'm Marcia Augustin. Thanks for joining us for Mornings on the Hill.
And I'm Cole Johnson. Happening right now, dozens of students remain inside Crouse-Hinds Hall, where Not Again SU protests have returned for the spring semester.
Our Allie Jenajon is live at the protest in day 3 of the standoff between students and school officials. Allie?
Yeah, Marcia, like you said, this is day 3 of the protest. It started Monday afternoon, and we are here right now outside Crouse-Hinds Hall. Earlier in the week, there were about 30 students outside. Excuse me. Those students, so there's some disconnect here. Let's break through it. Those students were told that they were being issued suspensions if they don't leave the building. Now, currently, by word of mouth, we've heard there's only 10 students left in the building. I spoke with a Not Again SU member. He said he would like to decline comment on air, but he did say that his concern right now is those students have nowhere to go. They have no food. I pressured him to respond to the email from Rob Kratsky, an administrative member, who said that those students are allowed to go back to their buildings for housing. They're just not allowed on campus for classes if they're suspended. He said that's not what the administration told them, so there is some disconnect there we're trying to work through. Again, this is a developing story. You'll report back more later on social media, so stay with us. But for now, reporting live from Crouse-Hinds Hall, Alexandra Jenajon for Mornings on the Hill.
So obviously some escalating from things that happened in the fall, Marcia. It's picking up here in the last couple of days.
Yeah, there's a lot of students that have been suspended, we heard, so we'll continue to see what happens. More snow is expected to come our way in central New York today. Cole, I hope it doesn't turn into a winter storm.
Yeah, I hope not either. Our Jillian Andrews is here to give us our weather update.
Good morning, everyone. For those of you just waking up, unfortunately, there is a storm ahead, but for now, we're just going to stay in the cool temperatures. As you can see, up in Pulaski, we're about 31 degrees. Down in Binghamton, we're around 29 degrees, and there in Syracuse, we're also at 31 degrees, right in the middle. As far as what we can expect for tomorrow, temperatures are going to cool down. We're going to be down into about 28 degrees in the early morning, and then later on we're going to move into 27 degrees, 26 degrees, and we're going to see a lot of snow starting late tonight and into the morning. We're expected to get about 10 inches of lake effect snow, and that advisory is going to start late tonight and into the morning. So everyone, make sure you plan ahead if you have a commute in the morning, just because there's going to be a lot of snow. Now, those snow plows do a good job, but with the fluctuating temperatures, you never know what to expect. I'll have more weather coming up for you guys later on in the show, so stay tuned for that.
Thank you, Jillian. Student debt continues to be a national issue, and here at Syracuse, groups are joining together to do what they can to prepare their students for real-life finances.
Paychecks and Possibilities, more than just an information session, but an interactive setting with food.
And really just being aware of how much you're spending.
Financial literacy. It sounds self-explanatory, but it's really not.
I'm going to take that as a collective no.
Especially for students. In a 2019 survey by AIG Retirement, only 65% out of 30,000 students plan to pay their tuition in time and in full. Mostly because they don't even know their way around a checkbook.
I knew very little. I knew what a checkbook was.
That's about it, probably.
I knew what taxes were, but I didn't know how to do them.
So Syracuse University's Financial Aid and Student Employment partnered up for Paychecks and Possibilities.
Amazing.
A fun way to inform and train students on their finances.
Even as college students to develop the really important financial habits now, it's going to lead them to so much more success as adults, because in the real world, like, your employer isn't necessarily going to talk you through, like, oh, how do you actually file your taxes, or what actually, if you look at your pay stub, what do these deductions mean?
And they were also able to sway students with food.
think when having food, but then also trying to make it as interactive and like kind of fun. So then they're like still learning, but it's not like I'm boring them to tears.
So students got to interact and eat and get informed.
So a whole point of our office is to give Syracuse students this knowledge base, so then when they can be informed and they can make better, more informed decisions regarding their finances.
It is the most important part of your life, being able to manage your finances.
Okay.
Kelsey Woodford also said there are still positions for safe money coaches, a position for students to be a guide for other students regarding finances. You have until February 28th if you'd like to join. For more information on future sessions like this, visit syr.edu/events.
The midterm mark of the semester is March 3rd, and the halfway point of tests, projects, and presentations have begun.
Our reporter Maria Trivalpiece finds places where you can prepare for the coming weeks of work.
Yeah, Cole, everyone studies differently, which means different environments and resources are necessary for people to have success. I visited some of those spots on campus this week to find out where you can set up camp during midterms.
If you're looking for someplace quiet, Carnegie Library is the place for you. There's a ton of wide open study spaces with lighted desks and charging boards, and they're open Monday through Thursday until 11 p.m.
If you want a library that's a little louder, open a little later, and a little bit bigger, you can head to Byrd. They're open 24 hours, and there's a ton of great areas to study, work on computers, and check out a couple books. Got a group project? Well, then you might want to start studying at the Starbucks on West Campus. It's a little bit less crowded than the one on Marshall Street, so you can find a seat and grab a cup of coffee. If you're sick of the quiet, you can even study in the Barnes Center. There's tables in the lobby where you can sit and do some work, or you can even hit the books while getting some exercise. Sometimes you're just sick of people and the public and, well, looking presentable. And if this is the case, you can even study in your dorm or apartment. Hopefully you all find somewhere to prep for finals, and from my travels this week, it seems to be that there's a lot for anyone to study really anywhere. For Mornings on the Hill, I'm Maria Trivalpiece.
Thank you, Maria. Yeah, you had to stay quiet there. That was pretty fun. Well, if you haven't noticed, our anchor, Marcia Augustin, is back after being in New Hampshire for the last couple of weeks. So, Marcia, did you see anything fun?
I did. I had a great time in New Hampshire. I covered the New Hampshire primaries, and I actually went on a tour that visited past presidential sites where they rallied.
Awesome.
This tour comes once every 4 years.
I love this atmosphere. I was going to poke around and go to the DoubleTree, and I saw the tour happening, and I said, I want to join this. I want to be part of this.
This guided tour brings people together where past presidents like Kennedy, Eisenhower, Bush, and Obama made the case for their candidacies. John Clayton is the executive director of the Manchester Historic Association. He takes visitors down memory lane during each stop, where candidates became presidents and made history.
So when Dwight Eisenhower, as a candidate for president, visits our Veterans Park, we have great photographs showing him in place. And by taking our guests on the trolley tour with photographs to see the candidates in that spot, it just makes it all resonate a little bit more.
It is the 100th year anniversary of New Hampshire being the first primary in the nation. And to celebrate that, the mayor has organized a Path to the Presidency trolley tour. Mayor Joyce Craig says she wanted to host an event across the city to commemorate the political role Manchester has played over the last century.
It's an exciting time for our state and for the city of Manchester, first in the nation primary. And we really wanted to do everything we could to celebrate it and welcome all of the visitors here today.
Craig says it's a fun way to engage participants with some of the trivia about the primaries and the decades of history in Manchester.
And there's tremendous history in our city, and we want to make sure that we're sharing that with everyone.
Marcia Augustin, reporting from Manchester, New Hampshire. The Path to the Presidency exhibit at the Millyard Museum is downtown Manchester, goes through the end of February.
Coming up on Mornings on the Hill.
A campus symbol of perseverance spoke to the fans for the first time this weekend.
Also coming up, a parent's touching story of one SU athlete and only one part of the big week in women's sports.
This season for Boeheim in the Orange, they have had their ups and downs, but with a couple more crucial games on their schedule, could make all the difference for the Orange. Tonight they will play Louisville, which are number 11 in the country. The Orange aren't ranked nationally, but 6th in the ACC, and Louisville is currently 2nd. But with 6 more games on the regular season schedule, the Orange are really going to need to secure these as we head into tournament play. Syracuse will head in as a big underdog tonight, but if they could get a win to teams they didn't win earlier this year, it could be looking up for the Orange. Tip-off is at 7 p.m. in Derby Country, and then they will return home Saturday for an afternoon game against Georgia Tech. But as big as tonight's game is for the men's team, the women's sports at SU have had a big past few days themselves. This month is Cancer Prevention Month, and this year Syracuse University had one of their own athletes fighting their own battle. Tiana Mangakahia was diagnosed with breast cancer in June, having to watch on the sideline. This weekend, the Syracuse Orange hosted Pittsburgh for the Play for K Pink Game. During halftime, Syracuse recognized other females in the community fighting their own battle, and for the first time since she was diagnosed in June, Tiana spoke to the community about her journey this season.
Thank you so much for all of the support from everybody. Syracuse is my second home now, and I probably wouldn't have been able to get through it without everyone's support, especially from my teammates, coaches, the athletic department, and all of you guys. So just thank you so much, and congratulations to all of us. It's a great feeling, and yeah, thank you everyone so much.
Tiana is supposed to have a full recovery after her double mastectomy this fall and is set to get back on the court next season. She says that she cannot wait for her comeback season and plans to declare for the 2021 WNBA draft. The women's basketball team will be back in action tomorrow as they have an ACC matchup against Clemson. Tip-off is at 6 p.m. And now we're going to throw it over to Juliana Durzo, who has one special story about the parent of one SU athlete.
As Michelle mentioned, a parent of one SU athlete has quite the compelling story you may not know about. At Syracuse University, having a strong support system is everything, especially from those who touch dear to athletes' hearts, their families. These relationships are ones we sometimes don't get to see, but this story highlights one father's relationship with his daughter, a player on the women's ice hockey team. Like Kobe Bryant, this dad could not be prouder to be a girl dad.
Lindsay started playing hockey at about 6 or 7 years old.
Halfway through in overtime, Clement wants the puck out in the slot. Instead to the point, and they score! Lindsay is on strike!
Your work will always be there. You'll always be able to get another job, but your kids' sports or your kids' activities, never miss it, because it could be taken away from you, just like that. So that's why I never miss anything. We drove 14 hours to Wisconsin from Ottawa in the car, straight to watch her play in the Final 8, and that was quite something. It's just been a great experience. Wouldn't trade it for anything. Hey Lou!
When are you guys gonna get here?
Soon. We're just on the way. We're almost there. Not far.
Order yet?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we're probably about 10 minutes or so away.
Okay, cool. See you soon.
Okay, Lou.
Okay, bye.
Okay, good luck. My name is David Eastwood. I started playing hockey when I was about 6, almost 7. I always wanted to play in the NHL. I was 16 at that time. The Belleville Bulls, they offered me a tryout. My father wouldn't take me, so I didn't get to go and try out. My father and I had a falling out for quite a long time. People started offering me part scholarships and scholarships. My father said, well, unless they offer you a full one, you're not going. So I had all these decisions to make, and I was 20 years old, didn't know what to do, and my dad talked me out of going the hockey route. That was my whole life. Playing hockey, that's all I knew. My brother played 15 years in the NHL, and I wonder how far I could have gone and what I could have done if I had the opportunity. It was very rewarding for me to see Lindsay live out her dream and see all these neat things that she's getting to do. Hockey was my passion. So for me to see, like, if she had to play tennis, obviously it wouldn't be the same. If she had stayed with the rowing, that would have been tough. I was really glad that she was able to follow in my in the hockey. And everything happens for a reason. I wouldn't have Lindsay and the journey she and I have been on. I always thought to myself, after I decided to choose that route, I always wanted to make sure that I made sure the resources, the time, and the effort was there on my part to help our kids, because I didn't want them to ever second guess anything that they were going to do in their life because they didn't have the resources or the time, the support. Wouldn't change it for the world now. I'm really proud of her and what she's been able to accomplish.
Dave actually travels across the border from Ottawa, Ontario to see every one of Lindsay's games. Sticking with women's sports, let's switch from the rink to the tennis court. Our Bailey Arredondo has the latest on what's been going down at the Drumlins Country Club.
The best team on campus right now could be this one. The women's tennis team has had its best start to the season since 2016, accounting for 6 straight wins. But the 6th win didn't come on a silver platter. The Orange had adversity knocking at the door with the feisty Boston College team coming in over the weekend. Head coach Eunice Limam was impressed on how his team answered it.
I couldn't be prouder. I think something that this team does extremely well is they never panic, and they have a lot of grit, and you guys saw the whole match. I think we had 4 matches that went super tight to a 3rd set, and I couldn't be prouder of how we responded in those very stressful situations.
Despite trailing for nearly the first 3 hours of the match, the Orange displayed a competitive poise. It all came down to senior Guzal Yusupova's final set, where she won 6 straight games to keep Syracuse undefeated, something Coach Limam couldn't say enough about.
You can control his effort and attitude and being playing as a unit, and this team, it speaks for itself what they've been doing.
With 3 new players coming into the program, and now a total of 4 countries represented on just a 7-player roster, the natural chemistry seen on this team has been exceptional.
They really enjoy each other. They enjoy hanging out, and you can see, like, when it comes down to it and the match is really tight, usually the teams that are closer, they fight and they give a little extra, and that's what they did today.
Whose house? Our house! Whose house? Our house! 1, 2, 3, 5! Give me cues on 3! Ready? 1, 2, 3! Cues!
Now, the road will only get windier for Syracuse as they enter ACC play. Limam and his team's chemistry will be put to the test as the number 10 ranked team, Duke, visits Central New York this Sunday. Since joining the ACC in 2011, Syracuse is 0-7 against the Blue Devils. But with that hot streak this team is riding on, this will be their opportunity to make a statement. For Mornings on the Hill, I'm Bailey Arredondo.
Thank you, Bailey. A lot of great things going on in women's sports lately, but we'll shift from athletic ability to artistic ability. Syracuse students have been working hard to create their own music. Our reporter Robert Bruin has more.
Syracuse music majors are creating soulful and lyrical music that are beginning to hit the airwaves of the world. The music majors sat down with me and we spoke about some songs that have meaning to them and what inspires them to make beats. Tell me one of your favorite songs right now that you have made.
One of my favorite songs that I've made so far is called Slippin', one of the unreleased songs, so people haven't heard it. Yeah. You want me to?
Yeah, I need something.
I got my groove back, like Stella is just whatever. On my 28th birthday, I was getting lit at Coachella. First they love you, then they jealous. I've been through it, I don't really sweat it.
I like that. That's fun. What motivates you to make a beat that sounds a certain type of way?
That's a good question. A lot of times I just be listening to a lot of stuff,
and then you listen to something and I'm like, damn, like recently I was listening to Freddie Gibbs and Madlib, and I was listening to that song and it's like, that's so fire, like if I could make something like that. And
it would be a hit.
Yeah, and I was just like, yo, I have to make something like that. So that inspired me to start making like some R&B.
Jayla and Offman are collaborating to work on her new EP that will be available on all platforms. For Mornings on the Hill, I'm Robert Bruin.
Still to come here on Mornings on the Hill.
Snow is falling again, and our Jillian Andrews has our next weather update and a look at Weekends on the Hill. We'll be right back.
Hey everyone, we're actually going to go to a look at what the weather is right now. Yep, here we are. So as you can see, we're in the 30s right now. Tomorrow is going to be the real weather day. We're going to drop down into the 20s and a low of 11 degrees. That is where we're going to see a lot of snow accumulating. A lot is going to go on there. And that's when you're really going to want to plan ahead and make sure you have your snow gear ready to go. As we move into the rest of the week, we're going to warm up. We're going to be up into the 40s, but that means the snow's going to melt, so make sure you stick with rain boots because it's going to get muddy, and no one wants to get their white sneakers muddy. All right, and for the almanac, you can see that we have a high today of 43, which is just above the average of 35 for this time of year, a low of 26. Usually we're at 18 degrees, so no one's going to complain about that. But in 1981, it was 62 degrees. I wouldn't be surprised if people were wearing bathing suits for that time of year in Syracuse. It is usually not that warm this time of year, so a lot going on there with weather.
And Jill, yeah, that's crazy. It was 62 degrees back then.
I know, I
wow.
can't, yeah. We're going to have to hold off until spring break for that, people, so don't get excited. That's really not going to happen.
We might not even see that until like June.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to wrap up the show today, let's take a look at what's going on this weekend here at SU. Tomorrow, a yoga breathing exercise at the Barnes Center at 12:15 p.m. in room 308 at the Arch. It will have another session at the same time and place on Friday. The Wellness Leadership Institute is hosting a variety of events tomorrow as well. It begins with a support session also in room 308 of the Barnes Center from 3 to 4 p.m. An hour later, they will educate students about basic finances in room 309 of the Arch. At 6 p.m., the women's basketball team faces the Clemson Lady Tigers in the Dome. The Orange are currently 4 games behind the #1 Louisville Cardinals. And at 6:30, they have a workshop in the same room to identify stressors as well as how it is to manage it. University Union begins its screening of Zombieland. Double Tap at 8 p.m. The sequel to the 2009 comedy brings back Woody Harrelson, Jesse Eisenberg, and Emma Stone on their quest for survival in zombie-ridden America. It will also be shown again Friday and Saturday nights.
The Wellness Leadership Institute continues its events on Friday to dive into what bias is and how to spot it. And stop it at noon in room 309 of the Barnes Center. Tennis serves up a match against Columbia at 3 p.m. Music school student Julie Canaglia is performing in the Shemin Auditorium of the Schaefer Art Building. The concert begins at 5:30 p.m. Orange After Dark is taking students for some fun in the snow. Tubing at Greek Peak. Students can purchase tickets on the My Tickets portal at the SU box office website. Buses will leave College Place at 9 p.m. Any students who miss out on Friday will have the opportunity to go again Saturday night. Don't forget your IDs.
With all the snow we get in Central New York, cross-country skiing is an easy way to get around, and students can learn at Tug Hill Ski Center. Trip registration includes trail passes, ski equipment, and a lesson. The bus leaves College Place at noon. School of Music students Sarah Kaporin and Caitlin Kruger will perform the trumpet and flute at 2 p.m. in Centaur Auditorium in Cross College. It will also be live streamed. And the men's basketball team continues its pursuit of an NCAA tournament spot as they take on the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets at 4 p.m. The Orange are tied with NC State for 5 games behind Duke for first place in the ACC.
Tennis starts here Sunday at 11 a.m. facing off against Duke. Men's lacrosse wraps up sports this weekend when it plays West Point at noon in the Dome. Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on Mornings on the Hill. I'm Cole Johnson.
And I'm Marsha.